I was thinking we would do something like a question that was fun and that you could answer.
Do you have an idea of what question?
What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
The only correct answer is chocolate chip mint.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't like chocolate.
Well,
did you know this about me?
I know, but like that's totally fair. Like I like vanilla more than I like chocolate ice cream. So
Okay.
I feel like
okay.
Yeah.
I
But are you gonna say vanilla then?
was gonna say vanilla. It's boring.
Hi guys, I'm Bridget.
And I'm Maddie. Welcome to Baddy Breakdowns, where we break down various games, hang out, and try to help you possibly find your next favorite game. Today we're going to talk about Overwatch 2 and Death's Door. We originally were just going to do Overwatch 2, but we added Death's Door because we didn't have much to say about Overwatch 2, which you will see in a bit. Kind of the format of this podcast is we're going to start by talking about the game itself, a little bit about how it's made and the critical reception, and then we'll deep dive into the game and chat about that and how we liked it and if we would recommend it and who we would recommend it to. So let's dive in with, we're going to start with Overwatch 2. Bridget, game description.
Yeah, so Overwatch 2 I feel like is super popular right now. But if you haven't played Overwatch 2, it is a how do you even say it? It's a first person. No, that's fine. It's a first person shooter. It's also free to play, which is pretty nice. It's generally team based and like PvP, so it's very much so a competition live game where things are coming out all the time, new updates, new things like in battle passes, and it is very much so a spiritual successor to Overwatch 1. In fact, I don't know what you're going to get into too much, Maddie, but I know that there was some criticisms on how different Overwatch 2 was to Overwatch 1.
Overwatch 2 was created and published by Blizzard, which is a company that has actually quite a lot of controversy around it. Wow, we can't talk today. We really can't. It has a lot of controversy around it right now. I'm not going to go into that in my section, to be honest. I'm just going to go into lightly some Overwatch 2 specific controversy. It was announced at BlizzCon in 2019. And when they first announced it, they said that they wanted to make sure that players who played Overwatch 2 could still play with Overwatch 1. So one of the promises from the very beginning was that no matter what game you played, you could still play with each other, which I thought was a really interesting concept.
Yeah, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, that was like a promise that they made. And then one of the first controversies is that closer to the launch, they announced that Overwatch 2 would actually replace the original, the original servers. Which kind of upset people because that was what they had been saying is if you have Overwatch 1, you'll be able to play with players who have Overwatch 2 and vice versa. But essentially, Overwatch
you can't play with them. You just have to like go to a different game. Things.
Yeah, and they just I think, and so I don't fully know, and this is getting into me not knowing too much about some intricacies of game development, but it's not that they deleted Overwatch, they just replaced Overwatch 1's servers with Overwatch 2's servers. So you're essentially playing Overwatch 2 while you're in Overwatch 1, I think.
Oh.
But I have no...
How like that?
I might be totally incorrect, and there's people listening to this that are like, wow, you're dumb. But that's how it seemed to me. And then what Overwatch 2 even is it's actually not really a new game,
Mm-mm.
is what I was reading. It's just an upgraded engine built off the original game, and it just allows for bigger, more maps and new characters and like some better graphics.
Yeah.
So it's kind of more like Overwatch 1.5 like version
Mm-hmm.
than Overwatch 2. The other big controversy is once they released Overwatch 2, they required people to confirm their identities with a text message. And while that sounds kind of reasonable at first, the problem is the thing that they used to confirm didn't allow for prepaid phone plans.
Oh, well, how would that work? Like, it's just
Yeah,
a
so if
text
you
message.
had exactly, so if you had a prepaid phone plan, the text wouldn't work and they wouldn't let you get an account.
Oh.
And so it caused a ton of outcry because in other countries,
Yeah.
especially, it's super common to have these like prepaid phone plans. It's not as common in the US, but people still have it in the US. And it didn't work. And so it felt really like elitist. And so there's a lot of things online about how like elitist it was and how it kind of upset people. And they did walk it back for people who had an account from before June 2021, which kind of dampened it, but that's pretty old.
Wait, oh, so they just left it in there. They left the fact that prepaid doesn't work still.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
they
cool.
left that in there.
Great.
Yeah. So like the mitigation was just so they were like, okay, well, if you've been an Overwatch player for a while, you can keep your old account or whatever and you don't have to validate.
Yeah.
But they still it was weird. I don't know.
Yeah, because there are quite a few countries that actually really function primarily off of those prepaid cell phone plans.
Yep. Getting into the reception of it, the thing that I thought was really kind of spicy is that on Metacritic, the critic score and the user score were very different. Mm-hmm. The critic score was actually pretty positive, and when I was looking up different critic responses, like Polygon is like one of the go-to websites that I use, is actually very like pretty positive. But and so it has a 79 on Metacritic for reference. Mm-hmm. And then users hated it. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone listening to this. A lot of people like really didn't like it, and the Metacritic user score is 1.5 out of 10.
I'm so sorry. I thought it was gonna be 1.5 out of 100.
Oh, is it out of one? No, it's not out of 100.
I feel like it has to. If it's a 1.5, I feel like it has to be out of 10.
It's out of 10, but that's still pretty bad.
It's still pretty bad.
Yeah. The most common reason I saw noted from users as to why they hated it is they disliked the move to the battle pass system and microtransaction free-to-play model system, whereas before you bought the game and then you unlocked cosmetics.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, so like before you bought the game, you unlocked cosmetics, and then there was also a loot crate aspect, but I think you unlocked loot crates. Like I don't think you were buying loot crates necessarily.
Yeah.
And then with this one, it went free to play and then had the, games as a service microtransaction thing.
Yeah, I was talking with my partner about the battle pass piece, and they said this is the first time that they had hid like a character in the battle pass. And so you either had to like pay for the battle pass to get them right away or play like hundreds of hours to be able to get that character. And up until this point, it had been very much so like everybody just gets all the characters. And then all of a sudden they're like, no.
Yeah.
I can see how that could leave a bad taste if you'd been playing a long time. I don't know. That doesn't feel good.
So that's my section. That's what I have. I tried to look and see if there was funny reviews. There wasn't really. It was all kind of just like mad.
Yikes.
So I was like, I'm not gonna read these because it's not gonna be funny. It's just gonna be mad. But yeah, that's the critical reception. Now we can talk about the game itself.
Yeah, which I think will be more fun.
Yeah, I think it will be more fun. Yeah, so let's talk first impressions.
Yeah.
My first impression was that the account creation was annoying.
See, I didn't
I
mind it. I feel like I have to do that for so many things. I
I
really didn't care.
know. I think I'm getting annoyed that now you have to have an account within an
Oh,
account for like everything that you
yeah,
play.
yeah. I think
So
that's
I
fair.
did get that, but I also think it was unbalanced criticism against Blizzard because now every company is making you do that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Ubisoft has the same thing and everyone does the same thing. And then the other first impression that I have is who is this gorilla? Cuz I'm
Why are they here?
why are they here? And then the line that I wrote down that he says is as you know, and I was like, what do I know? I don't know anything. I never played the first Overwatch,
Yeah.
so I have zero history.
Yeah.
What about you?
My partner plays a ton of Overwatch, or at least he used to. He's been playing a lot more with all the controversy shenanigans happening. And so he was next to me while I was playing it, and so he gave me a little bit about who the gorilla was because I was also confused. I was like, I literally don't know what's happening right now. So he like made me pause and explain things to me. But I think my first gut instinct was like, oh no, this is not the kind of game I play. Because once you actually get into it, into like that full, I thought actually pretty nice, um, what is it called? Like a learning area, tutorial
Mm-hmm.
area. Like once you get into that area, it feels pretty clear pretty fast that, oh, I'm going to be playing like a pretty fast shooter and I'm going to need to know all these different buttons and all these
Mm-hmm.
combinations and I'm going to be doing it against a bunch of people I don't know. And that's like the biggest stressor for me when I play a game. And so I was kind of excited just to see what it was and to play something different because, I never really play games like that. But I will say up front, I was like, oh crap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I felt the same way. I also wrote that when you get to the like hero selection and the tutorial, I actually thought it was pretty
Yeah,
good.
I liked the tutorial. I thought it was good.
And I liked all of the characters. Like I thought they were very interesting, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what drew me to want to play this,
Yeah.
like for this podcast because I've heard so much about the characters of Overwatch, and I wanted to kind of dive in
Yeah.
and learn more about it because I thought maybe it would like I would like it. I
Yeah.
genuinely thought maybe I would like it, which is why I'm kind of bummed I ended up not liking this game that much, which we'll talk about. But yeah, like my first thing that I wrote was like, oh, I really like all these different heroes,
Yeah.
and the tutorial is good. But to your point, when we jump into the actual game, do
Yeah.
you want to kick us off there? Because
um, yeah, I can. So, like, for
oh, and
context.
then what character did you pick?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So I picked Lucio to play
Okay.
because it was, um, well, this is part of the just general feeling that I had when I jumped into this game. So when I started, I actually played a few rounds first of just like against the AI, which I was really happy that and thankful that they had. But I literally had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea really like I understood the main concept of it, right? Like you have enemies and you shoot them and you win, like whatever, or you're like a support
I
person
thought it
and
was
you
a battle
heal.
royale.
Oh yeah, I think that I had no idea and like I didn't realize that there were going to be a lot of these little missions and they were going to change every time. Like I didn't get that
Oh,
either.
no clue. I had no idea what I was getting into.
Yeah. The reason that I started with Lucio, which I think how you say it, is because so he's the guy with like the boombox. He's
Mm-hmm.
like bumping, and he's a support character, and he's one of the support characters that doesn't involve a lot of like aiming. So most of the support characters you have to like latch on to a character that you want to heal or you want to boost or whatever, and then like tab between them, re-aim, and then like tab to a different one. And Lucio is the only one that he creates this super big barrier around you. And so with that big barrier, you just have to stay like near your team or close enough to your team to be able to actually like heal them. And so my partner had pointed me that way because he was like, oh, well, this is actually a pretty easy like entry one because all you need to do is be near your team. He's like, you don't have to care about anything else, be near your team. He's like, if you're with your team, you're healing. If your team is trying to catch up, you're like running and like boosting the speed. And that's all you need to know, like when you start. And so it's a really easy character to start with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who
Yeah.
did you pick?
So, something about me. is when I do character creation, I, for the most part, just pick the lady that I think is the prettiest.
I think that's why I want to be Widowmaker. She looks so cool.
So I don't know who Widowmaker is. Maybe it's this lady. So I picked the sexy purple lady.
I think that's Widowmaker. Remind me. Was she a damage character or was she like a healer?
Whatever was the middle. So it wasn't the tank.
So you probably picked Widowmaker.
It wasn't the tank. It was the middle, and she was a sexy purple lady. And I
Yes.
was like, I'm gonna be sexy purple lady. And I really forgot to write down their name. I bet it is Widowmaker.
I think it is Widowmaker. Yeah,
Okay.
because she's the coolest one. She is by far and away the coolest one of all of them.
Yeah, because I was just like, okay, I'm gonna be the hottest lady.
Yeah.
That's what I always do.
And it's her. And I wanted to play her so bad. And I played her in the training session, and I was like, this is hard. Like,
I just jumped in. I was like, I don't care if this is hard. I don't know what I'm doing. At least I'm gonna look good.
Did you not? You like went immediately into like your first match with people?
Well, I did the tutorial a little bit.
Okay.
And because you have to do tutorial missions to unlock the actual one, but once I was done with the tutorial missions, then I hopped in.
Okay, I played every character inside of Little Practice Training Ground. Yeah, I wanted to try them out, and I wanted to see.
I played
like,
each of the hot ladies.
Okay, I tried every single one. Although the one that I did play last was like the ugly dwarf dude. I don't know who he was. I don't care. But I did end up trying every single one of them, and I think actually my favorite, and now I don't remember her name. Oh no, did I write it down? Maybe not. Yeah, it's the new one that's locked behind the battle pass that I only got to play. Her name is like Kariko.
Oh.
And you can only play her if you purchased Overwatch 1. You purchase the battle pass, or you play like a bajillion hours to like unlock her. But she's like this super cute like support character. Yeah, I think so. She has like cards in her hand, and she heals with cards in one hand, and she's got a little knife in the other, and she can like throw these knives like speed throw.
Yeah.
And I actually never got the chance to play that on my own profile because Chris had it from buying Overwatch 1, and so I jumped onto his, and that one was actually my favorite one. It's just I couldn't play her on mine.
Yeah, I'm bummed because I thought the characters were cool. Like I genuinely thought they were all pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then so should we talk about the actual game?
Yeah.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you can start.
Okay. So, and then we're not gonna. I'm trying to be really like understanding that this is probably just not for me specifically, right? Yeah. So like everyone listening, keep that in mind. I'm not trying to shit on Overwatch. I'm just learning that it wasn't for me by playing this game. So when we jump in, first things first, like I literally had no clue what was going on.
Oh, with like what you were trying to accomplish?
No idea. Yeah. No idea. Because the tutorials, you're just like running around shooting things. So I was like, I don't know what the actual game is going to be. You jump in, you're on a team, you go protect a thing.
Sometimes it's different.
I really was confused, and I never got it. I played.
Oh.
I feel dumb. I never got it.
I
don't
know if I would have gotten it without Chris's like explanation.
I literally never. I played for 2 hours. I played for 2 hours, and I never got it.
Okay. I'll help. So, let me see how Chris would describe it. So, the actual modes when you go to play have different goals. Like every game that you play has a different goal.
Okay.
And so it might have been too that you were hopping in and hopping out of different goals, so it didn't feel consistent. It was hard to learn. The ones that I noticed the most were like the escort missions. So you can be on like both sides of the escort mission. So escort mission would be like you have a car and you need to guide the car to its final spot. And that happened quite a bit, but you could be on both sides of it. And so it could look really different depending on if you were the team escorting the car, if you were the team trying to stop the team escorting the car. And then they also had like capture the flaggy ones. So it's like stand on these bases as long as possible. And then like your percentage points go up based on how long you stand on it or like things like that.
Halo a little bit.
Yeah, like it had elements of some of those more like team PvP.
It was not obvious to me.
No, that was the one like big criticism I had is that like regardless of the fact that this isn't really my kind of game just because I don't like the stress of being bad. Like while I'm learning, I don't
Mm.
like that stress.
Mhm.
Like ignoring that is the one criticism I had, is that like I could get the fact that you had different characters and different roles with different skills that I just had to learn, but I didn't really understand intuitively at all what I was supposed to do once you like dropped me in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was really hard without like an actual multiplayer team to play with you, because you were just kind of running around and you didn't have a strategy other than like your own solo strategy for whatever character you were, which was,
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the squad was like because I didn't know how to play the game when I jumped in. I also didn't know what I was supposed to like the role I was supposed to be playing
oh,
on the squad, which
yeah.
I know is really important from reading stuff about Overwatch,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And I just never got it and I never picked it up. So after 2 hours, I was like, man, I feel miserable. I gotta stop playing.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where I'm like, acknowledge that this is for people, but not for me, and move on because I just wasn't getting it, and it felt very like what I have is just like overwhelmed and lost. Like
Yeah.
that's like the two biggest emotions I had while playing this game. But I really did like the characters.
Yeah. The one thing I was surprised at actually was that there wasn't more like character collecting. Like you got so many at the start, and it seems like you do get a ton just by playing more. And I was surprised I didn't go the more character collecty route.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do that later because of
Yeah.
all the free to play stuff.
Or
But
like having different outfits for them and
yeah,
stuff.
like it didn't
Yeah, yeah,
feel,
yeah.
yeah, which
Yeah.
is what I kind of had expected and then didn't see, which is a little
Yeah.
surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one really interesting part actually that's kind of related to the gameplay or not. I don't know if you noticed it, but so at the end, you know how they have the play of the game. Did you notice that? It's like, so when you finish the round, whoever won or lost,
Mm-hmm.
they have someone that gets called out on
Oh
one of the
yeah.
either teams, yeah, at the like play of the game. And that one was super interesting because I was like, how in the world are they picking this play of the game? So I actually went and read a little bit about it, and it's apparently some like algorithm thing.
Oh,
And yeah, it's like all algorithmically calculated based on like four different categories. They had like scores, or whether or not you saved a bunch of people, or
I
you were
see.
really accurate when you like killed them. There's just, it was really interesting, and I would never get anywhere near any of that because I was just running around with my little healing bubble. But it was cool that they had like this little method at the end, although the algo that they had picked, I feel like, some really boring shots sometimes. So you're just watching somebody like walk around and shoot like one person and then another one and then another one, and then it's over. And
And
I'm
then
like,
it's over.
okay.
Yeah. This is gonna be embarrassing. So I like the play of the game. I didn't realize that it was for the whole thing,
Oh.
and I thought that the play of the game was just like the biggest own against you because every single one was someone killing me.
No.
So I thought like play of the game, like this is like your like most brutal death or whatever. Because every one that I saw was someone killing me.
You just attributed to their great plays because you're so easy to kill.
So easy to kill. Yeah. Whew, boy, embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Any other last thoughts that you have, and then we can get into like our rating and who we recommend it to.
I think my last kind of thought was, as a new person, it didn't feel super like easy to get into.
They weren't setting up new players for success. I felt it was similar to, have you ever tried to play Destiny?
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like Destiny where, I don't know about you, but I recently played it because some coworkers like it.
Mhm.
And it also doesn't do a good job of the new player experience. It's very confusing, even just to get through. But I was more determined with Destiny because I had like
people
coworkers
that
I
you're
was
playing with. Yeah.
And it is helpful to have someone to like walk you through it. Like Chris kind of walked you through, but yeah. So with Destiny, it was similar, and I felt like this was similarly like unapproachable for new players.
Yeah. Chris also walked me through Destiny, so yes, I would say very
Yeah.
similar experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
I would say though, at the end of all of it, I feel like there's probably some really interesting strategy that exists between the teams you build, the characters you pick, like the timing of the skills, when to use them. And so I would say that like it's definitely not my kind of game. I don't think that I will play it again. I would probably still recommend it just because I can see the opportunity for the people who like those environments and people who like those kinds of games, that it did feel really interesting from like a strategic perspective, and I did really like the characters. So I did actually say that I'd recommend it. I would just recommend it for someone who either knows that they already like those FPS games or those competitor games, because it is very much so just pretty typical in those aspects.
Yeah, I would. My own personal caveat on that is that I do like certain free to play shooter games.
Mm,
Like I can play Halo. It's fine.
yeah.
I really like Fortnite, and
Oh, I forgot that. I keep forgetting that.
I know it's kind of a weird thing about me. It's kind of surprising. But yeah, even though I like both of those games, I still like this one was a little challenging for me, and I
Mhm.
think it's just that, first player experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or new player experience. So, there's that. So, we're also introducing a new element of the podcast where we rate our most recent game that we're playing. I accidentally just made my standing desk move. That's my bad. So we're going to give the games that we play a rating out of 5 daddies in honor of the first game that we played for this podcast, Dream Daddy.
Dream Daddy.
So for Overwatch 2, how many daddies do you rate it?
Okay. How many daddies? I would give it 2.5 daddies.
Okay. For me, it's a 2 daddy game.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a 2 daddy game.
I will say that though some of those characters I would give 5 daddies.
Yes, my sexy purple lady gets 5 out of 5 daddies. Yes. Okay, so now let's talk about Death's Door, which I'm actually very excited to talk about because I genuinely love this game. Do you want to do the
I could do. Yeah, I'll do the overview really fast. Yeah. So I did love Death's Door. It's so good. I would say the way that you'll hear it described online a lot is kind of like a mix of Metroidvania elements with Souls-like elements, and I saw that description kind of throwing it or being thrown around quite a bit. I would say for me, the way to think about it is it's this like 3D isometric game with pretty much a fixed camera, and you run around as this adorable little crow. Like you just run around as this little crow reaper, and you do it in kind of an old school Zelda like kind of game. So it's not fully a Metroidvania. We'll talk, I'm sure, more about some of that stuff later, but it's very much so like you get plopped in a central world and you need to gain some skills, and you make your way through different kinds of puzzles and through searching the environment in a way that you go into like quite a few different regions. It is Souls like though from a like actual fighting and combat like perspective, which I'd love to talk about more. But yeah, that's kind of the quick overview. You're a little crow, you're a little reaper. It's very adorable.
Yeah. Okay, so this game was created by the studio Acid Nerve. It's 2 best friends, David and Mark.
That's
are
so
their
cute.
names.
Okay.
And they made a game before Death's Door. They just made one game, and I should have written it down because I think it's Titan.
I wrote it down. Titan Souls.
Titan Souls.
Yes.
The Titan Souls got the attention of the publisher Devolver Digital, and Devolver Digital was like, we want to have you do a game for us. So it was created by Acid Nerve, but published by Devolver Digital. And the other thing that I noted is that Devolver Digital actually has a lot of really great indie games that they publish. So they've published Inscription, Gris, Wild West, Cult of the Lamb, and a ton of like these really like, it's like they're experts at finding indie darlings.
Yeah, they're very unique too. Like the ones that you listed are all very unique. They're not very cookie cutter.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, maybe it's a publisher I need to watch. Usually I don't really care about publishers.
Yeah.
I mostly like Annapurna.
Yeah, Annapurna's so good.
Now I like Devolver. I realized. And like I said, Acid Nerve is led by two best friends, David and Mark, and they worked on Death's Door for 6 years. So it took 6 years to make that game. And in an interview, they mentioned that their inspirations, kind of speaking to what you were saying, right? Their inspirations were Zelda and Dark Souls.
Oh, great.
But they explicitly wanted it to be more approachable than Dark Souls.
That was the feedback I had on it. Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So I found a really great interview because they actually weren't interviewed by very many people. Unity had a interview with them, and it was the only, like, it's like this really small, like, little YouTube video where they interview different creators. And yeah, so I thought it was really interesting that they specifically, one of the things that they said in that interview is they wanted to make sure as many people as possible were able to finish their game because they thought the story was really important. They wanted people to finish it.
Yeah.
So they, even when they were play testing, they said that they would analyze where people were getting stuck and rebalance the game.
I love that so much.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And that was the gameplay inspiration. But the inspiration for the overall look, theme, and narrative, which now that I know this is very obvious to me, is Studio Ghibli movies.
Oh, okay.
And Miyazaki movies. And so they specifically mentioned that Howl's Moving Castle gave them the initial idea of a door that opens to different places.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so they kind of took that and ran with it and made this game. And I just thought that it was really cool listening to this interview because you can see all of those in the game itself.
Yeah.
Critical reception wise, it did get really good reviews. It has an 89 on Metacritic and a user score of 8.1 out of 10. And it got nominated for a ton of Best Indie Game Awards of 2021 when it came out. And then the Steam reviews that I found that I thought were just entertaining to mention is a lot of them were just burb, like different various bird, crow, A+, recommend, bird. And then one person on Steam said it was boring and it got like overwhelmed with, and on Steam, the reviews, you can emoji react.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And so it got a bunch of clown emoji reacts. And I just thought that was funny. And then the other thing that I noted on Steam is that compared to some of the other like indie games that I think are similar or in my head were similar popularity, this one actually wasn't as reviewed as I thought it would be. Like I think it had like 10,000 reviews.
Oh, that's pretty low,
it's
actually.
Kind of
wow.
Low.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of low on Steam. And so,
not that that's like a bad number, it's just surprisingly.
Well, and even on Metacritic, it was 89, but it was compiling reviews from 12 critics.
Yeah, okay.
And usually it's like 50 plus. And then especially for a game that was on a bunch of award-winning lists.
Yeah, you'd think.
I thought it was surprising. And then I also joined the subreddit. And the subreddit is like 3,000 people.
I saw that too. I was so surprised. Yeah.
So I was just kind of surprised in general how like it just didn't seem like it had this like cult of followers like I thought it might after I finished the game, based on like how I felt after I finished the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that.
Yeah. Do we want to jump into first impressions, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which our first impression Rose no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
First impression.
Okay, I'll go. My first impression is that the music is really, really good.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good.
They integrate it so well into whatever the scene is at the time. Like that one level is even like the pillars are moving based on the music. The music's so good.
Yeah, it's really atmospheric. Like that was it like the music, the art style, the vibes were all just very on point, and that was my first kind of initial thought. And the crow was really cute. That was my other. Like I genuinely love the crow.
Well, that, and then like I think the very first place that you're plopped, you have the cute little Pikmin type little creatures that just follow you around, and I literally just walked around that level with the little Pikmin following me for way too long.
But that's like Ghibli movie, right? Because that felt really reminiscent of the things in Princess Mononoke. I was like, oh, that's them.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. Like I know
We should
enough
do a movie marathon.
I know enough cultural references to understand and like
Have you seen Howl's Moving Castle?
I've seen clips of it, but I haven't seen the full thing. I know.
Movie marathon. We're gonna do that.
Well, now I have to see that
I'm
and
really
see how
excited.
it compares to this because I love the atmosphere of this.
I want to watch you watch those movies.
Okay.
You know how like you like movies and you want to watch your friends watch those movies? Yes.
Okay, I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay.
But I feel like my very first impression when I dove in, one, yes, super adorable, everything about it. I was so interested in the whole like atmosphere they had created right away. It felt both like super creative and super mysterious, and everything about it was just so cool. And then I quit for like weeks or a month or two after like 20 minutes because it was too hard.
Oh no.
Yeah, I made it to that's why it was so funny when you were talking about like the approachability piece of it because I do think that at the end after I played it, one of the things that I wrote out was that the difficulty did feel perfect. Like it felt exactly like what I had wanted. It felt hard and challenging and like I had to do well, but it didn't make me want to like throw my controller and quit. And
except for the first time you played it.
except for the first time. And so like I think what threw me off in the very first time is I don't tend to go into like gameplay knowing what games are most of the time. I just usually like if they're cute, honestly, like half the time I'll just play them. And I didn't know what this one was, and it was adorable, and the music was good, and the atmosphere was amazing, and I thought it was going to be like easier. I just thought it was going to be easier. And so when I got to the part where I think you get the first not the first boss in that like main area, but you eventually have to fight a giant castle or something. When I got to the castle, I died
it's like
about
the first
four.
weapon unlock. I
Yeah,
think.
it is. Yeah, I died like 4 or 5 times, and I was like, I can't do this, and I quit.
Yeah.
Which was sad. I'm sad because this actually I think was probably my favorite game this year that I've played. And so I'm glad that I went back and played it again. And like actually ended up 100%ing it. But my first impression was, oh my god, this was too hard, and I quit.
Yeah. No, I get it. I do get it. I think I was a little bit more ready for the challenging gameplay when I started it.
Yeah,
so
I was not.
I never put it down, but I can see that being a thing.
Yeah. I will say though that I didn't think it was Souls level of difficulty at all.
No. Oh gosh, no. No,
Yeah.
I actually agree with you. I think it's the perfect amount of challenging. And I bet at the end we should chat about like maybe like some things that we would change. But I overall thought that it was the perfect amount of difficulty.
Yeah, for sure.
For
me.
Yeah. The main objective is to collect 3 different giant souls, and you unlock a region for a giant soul pretty much one at a time.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, I don't know if you can go out of order. I don't think you can.
It is very much so like here's the region, like they force you into it.
Yeah. So the first region and giant soul is kind of around a witch. And then the second one is a frog king. And then the third one is a yeti named Baddy.
Yeah. Very cute.
Yeah. And so the first phase, I want to chat about the first phase maybe more than the rest of them.
Well, because it's the best one.
It's the best one. I'm so glad that you agree.
It's the best one.
It's the best one. So, and it was such a perfect start to the game too, because you go in and I think it was really smart of them to have their strongest region be the first one.
Yeah.
Because then you get hooked. I actually thought that they got weaker.
I agree with you. And shorter. Like the first one, it felt a lot longer.
Yeah.
And then they like slowly scale down. Yeah.
So the purpose of the game, or what you're trying to do, is the thing is these people have cheated death in some way, and then their soul becomes corrupted and like big.
Yeah, well, it's because they haven't like died in so long. They just get more and more corrupt.
They get more and more corrupt, right? Yeah.
If I remember right, like the little crow, you have to collect these souls because you were trying to collect one and someone actually stole it from you, and because they stole the big soul, you now have to, and they like hid it behind a door, like the giant door you're trying to open, and so you have to go and collect all these souls because in order to open this door, you need all the souls, and you need your soul back because I think it's something like you as a little crow reaper die or age, I think, if you aren't in your little home
exactly
base.
what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you go to the Urnwitch, and then when you're in the Urnwitch area, it's like a really beautiful estate and house. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about is that's where you meet the character Pothead.
Yeah.
And I love Pothead. So Pothead is the Urnwitch's kid or grandson?
I think
son or grandson?
I thought it was grandson, but maybe I'm wrong. Oh
I
gosh,
can't
I don't know.
remember. And she cursed him because she didn't want him to die.
Yeah, yeah.
And so now he has a pot of soup for a head. And he's really great. And
He's
you talk to him throughout the whole rest of the game. But I just wanted to mention him because I thought it was so funny and so cute and like heartwarming.
Yeah, I feel like the wittiness that they had with all the names and with a lot of the dialogue was so adorable. And that Pothead is like the first actual character you meet. It was just so funny.
Oh, and I love the character introductions, how it has the like full screen.
Yes. Oh, they're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the game, when you meet a new character, it has these like full screen, like freeze frame type things, and it has the name of the character and like a little sound effect or whatever. It's like, boom.
It's like a very serious, like feeling thing, and like the font is really bold and big and all caps, and they do that for like so many portions of the game. Like they do it for the like death also does it, and for some of the big challenges you had. I loved that. The kind of tone that it created was so fun.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted to talk about with the Urnwitch is I 100% cried at the end.
I don't think I did.
I did. So it's actually
I'm trying to
spoiler
remember,
territory. I think like I'll try to time box this to a minute.
Okay.
Or and a half.
Okay.
So if you don't want to hear a really big spoiler for the Urnwitch, just skip ahead like 2 minutes. So at the very end, well, not the end, towards the end of the fight for the Urnwitch, you're talking to Pothead, and he's kind of like talking about how he like misses who his mom or grandma used to be, and how she like isn't that person anymore. And then when you finally kill her, he like has this whole eulogy for her.
Oh, I do remember that.
And it's really sweet and really touching. And it's the first character that you kill. And so it makes you realize like the game, like you are taking away life. It is precious. Yes, they needed to pass on. And I don't know, it was really like, I'm almost tearing up like thinking about it. Genuinely, I cried. I didn't for the other ones because they weren't as touching.
No,
I
really appreciate your perspective on this because I feel like I like story games. I like things are story-y, but a lot of the times I miss story in games because I just kind of like I click A. I'm the person who spams clicks A like so much through some stuff, especially if I like the gameplay a lot. And so it's fun because I'm like, I remember that. I do. I don't remember like feeling emotionally attached at that point, but maybe because like I did, I 100% of the game. It was a little bit like a time ago, and so I don't know, but it's fun because I don't get that perspective a lot. Now I feel like I have to play it again. Oh. So there are a couple other things I thought were interesting. I thought the Urnwitch had the best puzzle of the game. And I don't want to actual spoil for that, but I did actually really like the puzzles in Urnwitch and like the overall character and story. I felt like that was the strongest in that one. And also the world was something that I didn't entirely expect. Like, oh, all these living pots and furniture and pieces everywhere was really fun. And I remember like there was one room where you like walk at a certain angle and then you get really big or really small or something. Yeah,
I loved that one.
Yeah. And so like there was just a lot of really good puzzles in that area. And I would say overall like the puzzles in the game were pretty they weren't too difficult, but I would say they were really engaging and
I agree. I have that written as like an overall note as well. I thought the puzzles were actually really good.
But I definitely feel like the Urnwitch ones were like stand out. There was one in there that literally took me hours to figure out. I won't spoil which one.
Okay, so then the second phase after the Urnwitch is you go to a jungle that is run by the Frog King. And my biggest note is hate that guy, no tears for him. He sucks. Die, bitch. And then the other note that I have is intermixed either in the middle of the Frog King section or a little bit after it is when you meet Jefferson the squid.
Oh, he
But
takes you there or
but
something.
he's
Yeah,
also
yeah,
like one
yeah.
of my favorite side characters because it's a squid controlling a dead
Yes,
human,
it's so good.
and he cooks you food and he's like, "Oh, hello, I am a human
Yeah.
and I'm not a squid at all and
Yeah, and you
I'm a
can like
human."
when you eventually get to like the third area too, you can go to his like actual restaurant, which is really
Yeah.
fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just really liked that. But the Frog King section I thought was good, not
The
as heartwarming.
Yeah, that one wasn't super heartwarming, and like I thought the jungle one actually was a pretty fun still. The music I thought was actually probably my favorite in that section just because it had so much variety across the different
Mm-hmm.
areas. But
Yeah.
I think because the landscape and the general environment was, I don't know, you see games like that all the time that are like your jungle environment and the
Mm-hmm.
ruins. You know, like that one didn't stand out to me as much just
Mm-hmm.
because I felt like the Urn Witch was, you know, in these giant gardens in this haunted mansion. It
Yeah.
felt a lot more like new and original from just like a theming perspective. And so I don't know, I still felt like it was good. I still loved it. I loved playing through it.
Totally.
But that one I think wasn't as strong
Yep.
for sure.
Yep.
And I will say that inside, you know, once you get to like the sewers or whatever they are,
Mm-hmm.
the underground area, all of the walls had these little frog faces
Mm-hmm.
everywhere, and I had like this big obsession with these stupid frog faces. I thought it was going to be a puzzle. I thought there was going to be something. I literally looked at frog faces in almost every single room and I tried to interact with them 500 times. You never do a thing with the stupid frog faces. I'm still mad about
So it
it.
was a bait.
It
It was
was.
bait
I
for
was
people who like
so mad.
puzzles
I
like
know.
you.
I like finding one of the reasons that I love games like this so much is because I love the hidden puzzles,
Mm-hmm.
and like that aspect of it is one of my favorites. And so I was super keyed in on like, is that a puzzle? Do I get through that wall? How do I get through there? Is that the way? And I was just obsessed with these stupid frog faces.
Yeah. So the last person or the last soul that you
Mm-hmm.
meet is Betty the Yeti, which if you actually did you catch that there's a guy sitting at Jefferson's restaurant and Betty is his girlfriend?
Oh yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Very
And
cute.
he was like, I can't find my girlfriend. It's actually kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I can't find my girlfriend or whatever. She went away or something. And then you find out that it is Betty,
Betty, yeah.
the Yeti. And I think the biggest challenge with Betty was it was actually more like environmentally challenging, right? Because don't you have to like skate on ice and then you go up
Yeah.
the mountain?
Yeah.
And it was less like fighting things and more like scaling a mountain
Mm-hmm.
to get to Betty.
And there were more puzzles and stuff too, I think, if I
Yeah.
remember right.
Yeah. And I would say that again, like the story wasn't as like it got less and less in depth, but I actually think that that kind of worked in a
Yeah.
way because it maybe would have dragged if they had everything be as long as the Urn Witch was.
Yeah.
Hard for me to say, but that's kind of
Well, I think I
yeah.
jumped into the post game. And so the game still felt really long, not in a bad way, but like it felt full. It felt like a full game to
Yeah.
me. And so I don't think it needed to be as long. I just think I had expected them to be
Mhm.
longer, I think.
Mhm.
But I agree that the pacing worked okay because you went right back into the like post game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so then after Betty, you go give your souls to this door and then you have to eventually I'm not going to there's like a little spoiler there that I feel like maybe not get into.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the last fight is the Lord of Doors.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you noticed, but his mug was
Yes.
world's best lord.
Yes,
Like a world's best boss
Yeah.
mug, but it was world's best lord.
It was
And I
so
just
good.
thought that the Lord of Door character was really funny.
Yeah.
And also the worst.
He
Because he kept finger gunning at me and I kept dying and he was just like
so
like
funny.
finger gunning. And I was like, fuck you. That one was the hardest fight for me. That one took me the longest.
I actually think I beat that in just a couple of
I
turns.
don't know what it was about it.
I will say that I got so obsessed with 100%. I didn't know that there was going to be a post game, and I was obsessed with 100%ing it, which you spoiler couldn't do if you hadn't gotten to the post game yet. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had actually played like a crap ton of hours by the time I did the final battle, because I thought the final battle was going to end the game. And
Oh.
so at that point, I felt like I had been playing long enough. I knew it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually beat it pretty fast, but I liked the difficulty of it. Like, it didn't feel easy.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that one took me the longest. And then, yeah, that the finger guns really made me mad. But yeah, that's the game. I had like some general things that I wanted to mention, but I didn't know if you had other thoughts before we get into that.
No, let's go on to general, because I have some big things that are about like the whole game.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's do that.
I was gonna say I thought the progression and like upgrading was really, it like felt really good. And
Mm-hmm.
it felt really like satisfying to like find the shrines and
Yeah.
upgrade your health and magic that way. But then you can also like buy upgrades from one of the crows, and I thought that was really good. So I thought like the progression system was
Yeah.
really good and well designed.
I like that they baked in that progression with the puzzly bits that I wanted to do, like finding the different, like, walk through this bush or
Mhm.
whatever, and oh, there's one of the shrines. Like, I really like that they were tied together that way,
Mhm.
because usually I'm not the kind of person who really cares. I'll do upgrades as much as I need to, and I'll click the buckets and just like make them all even. Like, I really don't care. But I like that they were puzzly, and it made me want to go find them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My other thing that I have that I really liked is the crow mannerisms were on
Yeah.
point.
They're good.
The head tilts, way that it walked were just so good. And the shiny things.
The shiny things.
Because that's a crow thing.
Good. It's so
Because
good.
crows collect shiny things in real life.
Did you notice? So, sorry if you all haven't played it yet, you get like collectibles throughout it, and they call them shiny things, which is adorable. Did you notice that they accumulate on your desk?
Yes.
Yes.
And it's so
cute.
good. It's so good. It's genuinely really, really good. I just loved the shiny things.
They did so many little finishing touches,
Yeah.
you know, like the little things that you want to see game devs do because they love the game and they've really thought through all these aspects. And this game felt like they had done that. It felt like there were so many little buttons like that, that like the squid dude, where you literally can see him like without the dead body, and he's like, oh, you know, like there's just so many like fun little moments in there that I'm like, you did not have to do that.
Yeah.
And they did it anyway, and I feel like that's what put this game above and beyond for me, were those like little buttons.
Yeah. And they really paid attention, and everything was very like thoughtful.
Yeah. It was very intentional. Everything they did was very intentional.
Yep.
I will say that one of the other things I really appreciated about the game was like the art style. And I'm not just like, one, I actually really like isometric, and the 3D isometric is a view that I like a lot. I think it works super well for games like this because the views limit your ability to like see some of those puzzles, so you have to be creative kind of with how you find them. And so I really like that. But the thing that actually stood out to me the most were the little blood splats. I know it's so weird, but like in the second realm especially, where everything's green, they anytime you fight something, you have little blood splats like plop off, but not in a gory way. It's just like these little bright red puddles, and they had such like beautiful, honestly, saturation against like the backgrounds that they had, that it was just like this really pretty like little scatter of like this beautiful like bright red that just felt like super perfect. And I just really appreciated all of the different like little art pieces that they had throughout it. Like, I just loved the whole style of the game.
Yeah. No, it was beautiful. Super. I wrote like I could, after I saw the interview where they talked about it being like a Miyazaki movie, I was like, oh yeah, I like it feels that way. I mean, it feels like its own thing. It's not like a copy of a Miyazaki movie.
Yeah.
But like I can totally, how the visuals in those movies are so beautiful and like so detailed. It felt very similar.
It was like a very immersive world that they built. Like, they built it with the music and the characters and the art style, and all of it like really made me feel like I was there and in it, and I was so engaged with it. Like, I loved it so much.
Yeah. My last thing that I wanted to mention was the life seeds.
Oh.
So did you do the same thing that I did?
Hoard them?
I hoarded them.
Yes. I
And you're
hoarded
not
them.
supposed
You're
to.
not supposed to
So
hoard
as a
them.
heads up, if you haven't played it, just don't hoard the life seeds.
Yeah, don't do it. It's a mistake.
Um, I was, yeah, I was
I was bummed.
upset. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was upset because I hoarded them like crazy,
Yeah.
and it's not the kind of resource that you hoard.
No, I 100% always hoard stuff like that. And to know, like, I won't get into too spoily bits, but like, I am very upset that I ended up hoarding them. I also, did you, maybe I'm just a dummy, but the things on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
did you figure out what those were while you were playing, or did you look it up like me?
The pots?
No, like the sewer grates.
Oh yeah, because you could ground slam.
Yeah, I didn't figure that out. I had to look it up. I had finished the entire game
Oh.
except for everything that was in whatever those were. I thought it was going to be a new skill that I got, and they were like little
I did
transport
find it
pads.
out late. Like
Okay.
I did figure it out late because it was some I think I accidentally did a ground slam.
Oh, into
And I
one,
was
and you're
like,
like,
because they don't tell you that ground slam is a thing,
yeah,
like
yeah,
during any tutorial.
yeah.
And so I accidentally found it out, and then because I had noticed it the whole game, and I was like, what
Mhm.
are these for? Like there's something,
Yeah,
it's something.
you know it's something. Yeah.
And then that's when but it was very late. It was very late that I
Okay.
found that out.
See, I like you noticed them, saw them. I was like, I really want to figure out what these are. But I thought they were like pads where you would stand on it and it would like some sort of transport system so that you could go quickly from like one place to another. Because,
Mm-hmm.
in games that do the
Yeah, like
region
fast
locking,
travel.
yeah,
Yeah.
like fast traveling, they know that you're going to be going to these areas like
Mm-hmm.
500 times because it's very like non-linear. And
Mm-hmm.
so I thought that's what it was going to be, and I would get to go to all these areas after it was done. And then I couldn't figure it out. And so I think what I normally do is I'm like, hey, Chris, can you Google this for me? And then give me like a TLDR, like
And
the
like a
littlest hint.
hint. Yeah. I love that.
And so like we figured it out and it was fine. But that was another one that I was like, I wish that one would have been an easier like gap for me to jump.
Yeah.
Because that did come really late for me.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
Okay. Should we do whether we recommend it and who we would recommend it to? Or did you have something else you wanted to mention before?
I was trying to think. Oh, the only thing that I would add to the end was story related.
Mm.
And I'm not gonna spoil this too much, but the Titan Souls that you had mentioned is apparently part of the ending. Like this is a theoretical sequel to Titan Souls.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. And so I was actually really confused by the ending, like the ending. So for the folks who haven't played it, like there are more things that you can do. You should do those things. It's really fun.
Oh, I don't think I've done that.
The like you didn't do the post game?
No.
Okay, so there's like a whole
Yeah,
second
yeah, yeah.
game.
Okay.
When you this is very spoilery. I will try and go fast, but spoilery. When you finish the fight with the Lord of Doors,
Mm-hmm.
he drops something.
Yeah.
And you pick that up,
Yeah.
and then you can do the like
And
day
it
night
makes it
switching.
night. Yeah.
Yes. So like that whole post game, if you do every single thing, you get another true ending.
See, I haven't done
So there's a
every single
true
thing.
ending.
Yeah.
Doing every single thing was actually, it took a really long time. I think I played it the doing 100% because I hoarded those seeds like about as long as I played the real game. So don't hoard the seeds, but
Yeah.
the true ending at the end actually apparently I was very confused, but is apparently a spiritual successor to Titan Souls and is very similar to that ending. And it even has like the main protagonist from Titan Souls.
Oh.
Yeah, and so
Okay.
if you like have played Titan Souls and are looking for like a little bit of snippet, that apparently has more. I don't know how connected it is because I haven't played Titan Souls, but I did think that was really interesting, and it makes me
Yeah.
wonder like what's their next game gonna be, and do they have like
Yeah.
this story that they have
They're like
in mind?
building.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, what are they
Yeah.
doing over
Yeah.
there? And so that was kind of fun because I didn't expect it because I was trying to look up what the ending meant. I was like, I don't know what this is, and they're like, oh, it's because it's kind of a sequel. A sequel of what?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
No,
Yeah, I'll have to play that. I'll have to try to get it 100%. Okay, so recommend it. Who you would recommend it to?
I would definitely recommend this.
Same.
I do think this is my favorite game of like the last year that I've played. So hands down and recommend. I would say that based on the descriptions, people, if you are really into Souls games and you really like that level of difficulty, it is not going to be that. Like, it's still challenging, and it uses like the Souls mechanics of like needing to dodge really quick and all that kind of stuff. But I would recommend it more for people who like the old school Zeldas, I think, more than I would say that people who are super passionate about those like Souls games, and anyone who loves like puzzly Metroidvanias 100%.
Yep. I have, yes, recommend, kind of similar to you. It's actually on my like favorite games of all time list.
Yeah. I loved it.
I really genuinely loved it. I would recommend it for people who want like atmospheric, challenging, good story games.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically, I think if you like Hades or something like that, you would like this game.
Yeah, I would say that it would, like, I know Tunic was another new one that came out this year, but those were kind of like spiritually the same in my head, of like kind of challenging, cute, well thought through and designed games. I love this.
How many daddies?
I would give this one 5 daddies. Are you
yes,
kidding me?
this is 5 out of 5 daddies for me.
100%.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Okay, what a good way to end it.
Okay. Okay. This might be boring and you're allowed to veto it, but I have been trying to figure out, when you roast Brussels sprouts, are you a bottoms up person or a bottoms down person?
I do bottoms up.
You do bottoms up?
Yeah.
Okay, everything I keep reading says you put like the bottoms down, but whenever I do that, it's all mushy and sad.
Yeah.
But when I do it up, it's all dry and sad.
Yeah. I actually, what I do with Brussels sprouts is I quarter them.
You quarter them?
And then they get even more crispy. Yeah. So half and then quarters.
I don't know why I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then maybe that's what I do. Because like what I did last time, I had this experiment this week where I cut them in half and then I literally put half bottoms up and half bottoms down.
I saw that you were doing like a health kick thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
It's
I gotta do that.
Okay. I am very big into the like eating at home and not eating out right now, mostly because I've pretty much worn myself out with DoorDash. Like I literally DoorDash like half of the pandemic and I'm exhausted and it's so expensive.
It is.
And so I'm trying to eat healthier right now, but I am so lazy. It is so hard. And so I eat like a lot of Trader Joe's frozen food, which I would also recommend.
I love Trader Joe's has really cornered the frozen food market.
I know, and they have like every single, I don't know what genre, what is a genre?
Genre food. I love it. We're just in the games. We're in
genre.
Games. Trader Joe's is 5 out of 5 daddies.
Honestly, it's so good. And so yeah, I've been health kick lately, and I made the Brussels sprouts I was making were these really delicious
it's Brussels sprout season. I need to get more Brussels sprouts.
But I never thought about quartering them, so maybe I'll try that. Because like I was pretty disappointed because the ones that were up just weren't right. Okay. Because like when they were fully up like this, it didn't feel super crispy.
She's holding her hands out because you just said like this. I'm just describing. Holding her hands out in like a V.
Yeah. You know, like if you have the big like bucket at the bottom and then it's like flat at the top, right? Yeah. And the stuff at the bottom doesn't get crunchy. And then when you flip it over, none of it's crunchy. It's just sad.
And that's why I recommend quartering. And then you still do like the circle side down.
Which makes more sense because there's less space at that point and it would.
And then it's kind of nice because then the heat gets like in between the layers a little bit.
Okay. That's what I'm gonna try next.
Try it next. Let me know how it goes.
Update next week.
Yeah. Next podcast we'll update. So, okay, that was our off-topic section about Brussels sprouts. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. The podcast art was done by the lovely Tanisha Vernikar, and the intro song was produced by me, Maddie Wisnat. Join us next time to hear us two baddies break down Somerville.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.